Hello everyone, my name is Daniel, and I want to tell you the story of how my devilish sister Cindy has been keeping me from living my life in peace for so many years. I really suffered directly, and then it turned out to be very different. I found out something I wasn't prepared for. My little sister and I, when we were little, we always got along. We played together, broke toys, disobeyed our parents, and then got punished together. We had fun. Mum got mad, and we had fun with it. Cindy was a real schoolgirl. She could eat all the cake at once and then steal it all from me. I had no idea how such a little girl could fit so many sweets in her. For her 7th birthday, she asked me to give her a beret. It was a special beret with lots of pretty rhinestones. It was exactly like her favourite doll, only it had her name, C, engraved on it. She loved it when we called her that. Cindy and I lived in separate rooms. I had my own stuff, she had her own. She did everything her own way. She hated having people go through her stuff. What's the big deal? Our room is cleaned by the maid, why not? You don't understand anything. Don't you hate it when people go through your stuff? No, you're 7 years old. Don't you find it hard to clean there all the time? No. Well, I'm lazy. Okay, lazy bones. I'm going on an adventure. Are you coming with me? Where are you going again? Aunt Palm's. Are you going to rip her apples off the tree and throw them at people? Yeah, that's my favourite thing to do. And why are you being such a boy? Well, someone in this family has to be the man, right? What did you say? What did you hear? She'd show her tongue and run away, and I'd chase after her. That day, she ran to her neighbour's orchard again. She wanted to pick apples, but at that moment, a dog we didn't know came running up. I couldn't climb trees, so I froze in a stupor. C, sitting on a branch, shouted, Dan, hurry up and climb. I can't. C jumped down in a split second, and the dog jumped on me. My sister managed to hit her with a stick, then the dog ran away. At this time, she dropped me off and told me to climb up. I climbed up somehow. I was very scared. I tried to protect her, but I understood that I could not cope. Eventually, I managed to climb up. She seemed to climb up as well, but the dog jumped high and grabbed her pant leg and pulled her down. Even though we were already high, the dog still got us. Cindy screamed that the dog was pulling her down, and I gave her my leg to grab onto. It happened so fast. We fell together. I hit my head, and I had very little memory of what happened next. I woke up in the hospital, only in a hospital I didn't know. The doctors there were talking in a language I didn't know. The atmosphere was different. I immediately asked where my mother was. The doctor came up to me and asked how I was feeling. I'm okay, I guess. Great. We're glad you came to your senses. Your family is already calling. I think you'll be able to see them tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. What do you mean? Why not today? There are no flights today. What flights? Where am I? In Israel. How did I get here? Wow, Cindy would be jealous. Where's Cindy? Who's Cindy? My little sister. You got here without her. Ask your mum later. Okay. You'll have a nurse to look after you in the meantime. Her name is Daya. I'd like you to meet her. Daya was an old lady with a kind face. I asked her to give me the phone to call my parents, but she said it was charging in another room. The first thing I did was go to the bathroom and see myself in the mirror. I freaked out. Wow, I'm all grown out. Why did my hair grow so fast? And why did I get so taller or something? Weird. I walked around the room and then I told Di I was hungry and she went out for lunch and disappeared. I waited for her for probably an hour and then, not finding my stuff, I went out in my hospital clothes and walked towards the exit. After walking around the grounds for a while, I thought I must have been out for a long time since my eyes were so sore from the sun. Suddenly, someone behind me startled me, came up and slapped me on the arm. Ouch! Well, sleepyhead, you finally woke up. See, hi, how are you? I'm fine. How are you? I'm fine. An incomprehensible hospital and grown-out hair strain a little, but on the whole, normal. Where are you from? Where are your parents? At home. Are you here alone? No, with you. But the hospital said they didn't know you. That's what they always say. I used to sit next to you all the time. What happened? What do you mean? That dog, I don't remember much. Cindy's face went a little pale, and then she said she was hungry. don't have any money." "Neither do I, brother. Come with me." Cindy took me to some local market that sold street food. She went to the counter and grabbed what looked like a pie. Then she took a bite of it and said, "That's good. You want some?" "We don't have any money. Let's not touch it. Put it back." "We've been standing here for 2 minutes. Still no one said anything." I slowly reached out, took the pie, and stood there happily eating it. Then the salesman turned to me and yelled something in his language. Someone tried to grab me. Cindy yelled run, and we pulled out of there as fast as we could. We hid around the corner of some building. My heart almost jumped out. "Are you kidding me?" "You've always had bad luck." "So what's next?" "Come with me. While you were sleeping in there, I came up with all sorts of ideas." "Would you leave me alone?" "No, not now." That's when our adventure began. First, this little girl spilled all the candy from the store shelves, made me steal some for her, and then she threw a fish at the security guard from the fridge and he chased us. We barely made it out of there. When we rounded the corner again, I stopped to catch my breath. "Cindy, why aren't you getting tired?" "What do you mean?" "I'm running out of energy and you're not even breathing." "That's because you're old." "Hey, I'm not old. Let's move on." "This isn't interesting." "Why?" "How come you mess up and they chase me? How come? Everyone yells get the kid, but no one yells get the girl, or at least both of them." "You're an idiot, Dan." "What? Why is that?" "You really don't remember anything." "What am I supposed to remember?" I got a call from behind me. I turned around and saw the doctor and his babysitter named Dyer. I waved at them. "I'm here with my little sister." I smiled at them and they took my hand and told me to go back to the hospital. I yelled that my little sister was still there, but when I turned around, no one was there. "Where's Cindy?" I asked, but no one answered. It was stressing me out terribly. I arrived at the room, was fed, put to bed, and fell asleep. An hour later, I woke up and saw Cindy sitting next to me. I asked her why she was here and why she set me up like that, to which she replied that she was coming to see me because she missed me. I would miss my brother too, who gets all the bumps. "Let's go check in. I want to scare the nurses." "Oh no, let's go without me. You're making my life miserable." But C didn't listen to me. She turned off the computer by pulling the cord, and then a monster appeared on the monitor when it was turned on. Of course, the nurses freaked out, and you know who got in trouble? Me, because I was standing there laughing. After a while, my mum and dad came running down the hall to me. Mum was hugging me and crying. I said I was glad to see them, and that Cindy and I were having a good time here. "With who?" "With C." "Son, you've been gone a long time." "Well, I must have been gone a week since I got so fat." "You don't remember anything?" C came out the back and she was really sad. "Remember what?" Mum couldn't hold back the tears and Dad said, "C died. We buried her. You don't remember her funeral?" I looked at C and I got goosebumps running through my body. My little sister was crying too. "It can't be. She's standing right there." My parents said it was empty and their faces went pale. I began to panic. "See, explain, what is this circus? What's going on here?" "I'm dead, Dan. We fell out of the tree and I'm dead." "Oh, no, it can't be." And then those events flashed through my mind like quick pictures. She had fallen. I blamed myself very much. Then there was the funeral, after which I couldn't find myself. I kept screaming that it was my fault, my fault, my fault. And then I lost consciousness and fell into a coma for 2 years. My parents took me out of the country where I had been for the last 1.5 years. And C, my little sister, she was gone. And now I have to put up with it all over again.
Hi, my name is Dan. I don't want to sound unassuming, but if you haven't met any guys who don't have a lot of nobility or something, well, I'm one of them. I'm joking, and I'm not joking. In short, listen to my story. I guarantee you will be intrigued. And yes, I will be happy if you write your opinion in the comments, as well as like my story. Anyway, at first we lived as a small family. Dad, Mom, Sister Abby, and me. We lived like everyone else. Abby and I went to school, and my parents worked. We did not often relax with the family. Recently, we used to like to skate, and go to the movies together, or just sit at home and watch something, discuss, play Monopoly, and then entertainment became less and less. Abby and I have already asked our parents to sit with us, but each time we heard some excuses, especially from my mother, and then it turned out that she wanted to leave us. Yes, it was a nightmare. We didn't even believe it at first, but when my mother packed her bags and said that she had another one, it was a huge blow for our father. I was even afraid that he would never come to his senses, but little by little, we began to cope. Several years have passed since that moment, and I still remember how my mother ran out of the house to the taxi that arrived and did not even turn around. Of course, I was so angry. Abby was more upset, and Dad was in shock. And so, as soon as we all came to our senses, Dad gave us a gift. Guess what? I already had a bad feeling that day. I knew something bad was going to happen. I'd missed the first class, which was an important test. The teacher was mad at me, sent me to retake, and Abby had fallen off her bike that day and hurt her leg. I rushed to the medicine cabinet, but there wasn't even a green card. My mood was already spoiled. In the evening, we were waiting for my father. He promised to bring us delicious food and a restaurant. In the end, we set the table and were already hungry and waiting for my father, when suddenly the door opened and a woman came in instead of my father. Dad followed her in with a bunch of bags in his hands, and there was food. We got up and said hello like well-behaved children, took the package, and started unloading them. The lady said we were really cute and ran to wash our hands and then started helping us. We looked at her questioningly, but it wasn't proper to ask her out loud in front of a guest, so we just didn't say anything. It was just before dinner started that the father said the woman's name was Miss Tiara, but she interrupted him and told us to just call her Tiara. We also introduced ourselves and started eating. Judging by the dinner, and the way father carefully tended to her, it was obvious that they were dating, and not so long ago. When dinner was over, Abby and I went to our rooms. Before going to bed, Abby said she didn't like Miss Tiara, but I asked her to wait for her conclusions. After all, our dad is lonely, and it's normal for him to start a relationship all these years later. Our mother probably has her own family for a long time. Abby lowered her head and lay down on the bed. I made her promise not to tell my dad her opinion yet, at least until he officially made a statement. She agreed. Tiara had come to our house several times in the past week, and Abby still hadn't kept her promise. Tiara, she said to her as Miss picked up a glass of juice and sipped it slowly, "Are you sleeping with my father?" At that moment, Mrs. nose was full of juice. My father was choking on the meat, and I was all smiles. Father scolded her for asking such a direct question, but Tiara stopped him. She told Abby that she and Dad are dating, and she really hopes to be friends with us. My sister said that our family doesn't need such friends. "We're fine without you," she said. Dad scolded her again, and I excused myself, took her hand, and led her into the room. I talked to her, asked her not to do it again, and asked her to give my father a chance. After dinner, of course, we both had a lecture from my father. I asked him if he intended to marry her, to which my father did not answer clearly. Abby said she didn't like the tiara, but Dad asked her not to be jealous and to give her time to prove herself. Then he went to his room. At night of the same day, my father received a call from work and was told to go on a business trip urgently. This didn't happen before, so we were very confused. I didn't know what to do with Abby, even though she was already going to school, but she still seemed like a child to me. Dad immediately called Tiara and asked her to come. Yes, she agreed to look after us for a couple of days in his absence. It was polite of her, but Abby was hysterical. We quickly saw my father off and went to bed. Abby came to my room to talk. She said she didn't trust the woman, and I explained that she was just jealous of father, but that sooner or later he would get married. At that time, we had no idea what was waiting for us. Abby and I stayed up late that night. I passed out, and my sister couldn't sleep, so she went out for a drink of water. She woke me up in the middle of the night, and I didn't even know what was going on. Abby was frantic about Tiara going through Dad's things, but I didn't think it was strange. Let her dig. In the morning, we woke up to the gorgeous smell of pancakes. It turned out that Tiara made us breakfast, which was nice, and I thanked her for it, but Abby didn't even touch it. Then Tiara said that she wanted to make friends with us, so she came up with some games for us, and walks in the park. I thought it was a good idea, and Abby didn't say anything, but I dressed her and we went to the park. After walking for a couple of hours, we got hungry and returned home. While I was changing, Abby noticed something strange in the house, and she said that Tiara had found Dad's vault and was trying to break into it. And I didn't like it anymore. I went into my father's room, and Tiara quickly jumped out of there. "Oh, I thought you were asleep. Don't you sleep during the day?" She laughed nervously. Abby called her a thief and chased her out of the house. I asked her to leave politely and watched her go with a very unkind look. We called my father and asked him to come. An hour later, the doorbell rang. Wow, is Dad that fast? I opened the door, and there were police officers and a tear-stained Tiara. The uniformed man said they needed to talk to their father, but when they found out he wasn't there, he wanted to take Abby to the station. To my questions, he said that she was suspected of stealing someone else's ring. Her, the policeman said, pointed at the tiara. What? I asked. Yes, this is a mistake. It can't be. We see it for the first time in our lives, I shouted, but everything turned out to be useless. Tiara ran into our house and started turning everything over, and then opened the safe and pulled out her ring. Can you imagine my face? Abby started crying. I was in shock. I didn't know what to do. And then he said I did it. I took all the blame. They took me to the station, and I told Abby to wait for father. After a few hours of waiting, my father arrived. He didn't know how to react, and the tearful Tiara rushed to his shoulder to cry. I didn't say anything. I knew he wouldn't believe me. He didn't take anything Abby said, because we're the only ones who know the code to the safe. And just when I thought I was really going to jail, Abby suddenly dragged my father home. She asked him to trust her, but I didn't know what she was up to. It turns out that our little smart girl remembered about the video cameras in our house. Dad looked at the records and saw everything for himself, then saved them and gave them to the police. I was released, and Tiara was put in my place. It turned out that she wanted to get rid of us, his children, so that we wouldn't get in her way. She only wanted to arrange their personal life, but we were superfluous there. It's a good thing we installed cameras a long time ago. My father was in shock, and for a long time asked us for forgiveness. Did you like our story? Then put likes, comment, and be sure to subscribe to the channel, friends.